Parakid Chet, the 18th chapter of the book of Mishlei, Lata'ava yivakesh nifrad b'chol tushia yit gala. So a person who isolates himself pursues his desires. He disdains all competence. Now here, right, if we think back to the beginning of the Torah, Lo tov heyota adam levado, man couldn't find a partner. The first sort of thing that's not good, or one of the things that's not good early on in creation, a person who isolates himself, he pursues his own desires. He's not doing something for the greater good. It's not good to be by yourself. It's not good to just pursue your own desire. We've seen this in other ways in this book, of course, where we talk very much about the person who listens to the rebuke, who listens to the suggestions of others. When somebody listens to the suggestions of others, they become better. That's one of the major themes of the last number of chapters. It's one of the distinctions between the person who becomes wise and the foolish person. And so here as well, if you isolate yourself, nobody's going to tell you how to be a little bit better. Lo yachpotz ksil b'tvuna ki'im behit galot libo. The fool does not desire understanding, but only to air his thoughts. How many times have you gone to a lecture and then they open up for questions and then somebody starts not with a question, but a very, very long comment? So I don't know if all those people are fools, but Bevo Rasha ba gambuz v'im kalon cherpa. The wicked man, right? Wicked man comes with derision and with the rogue contempt, speaking back the same thing. Go to a lecture, and what's the first thing that happens? There's some people there to learn, and there's some people there to prove that the person giving the lecture isn't that smart, or just to poke holes in their theory, not to maybe improve, but just to, again, there's just contempt. Ma'imamukim divrei pi ish nachal novea mekor chochma. The words of man are deep waters, of flowing streams, a fount of wisdom. So it can be, if somebody is with chochma, there's depth to it. There's right, it's coming from a deep source, and it flows, and it can increase knowledge, and right, like water. We think of a stream. One stream meets up with another stream, ends up in the oceans. To paraphrase from the book of Kohelet, right? So wisdom is like a stream. My wisdom together with your wisdom, ideas of chavrusa, ideas of learning together. So it's a flowing stream that comes together. It's not just one person, like we started in the beginning of this chapter. Verse 5, Pasuk Hey, say pnei rasha lo tov latot tzadik b'mishpat. It's not right to be partial to the guilty and subvert the innocent in judgment. We've seen this in different ways in this book. Talk about not specifically, in judgment, but the Moznei Tzedek, the references to having scales that are fair and being, and we talked about God's scales. Even seems to be an illusion of one of them. Siftei ksil yavo beriv ufiv lam maha lumot yikra. The words of a fool lead to fighting. His speech invites blows. Some people like that. They like tension. The fool's speech is his downfall, is his ruin. His words are a trap for himself. We've seen that in different ways in this book. We've always referenced many times, right? The gallows that Haman prepares for Mordechai, he hangs on himself. The words are a trap for himself. Continuing verse 8, Pasuk Divrei Nirgan. The words of a fighting man are bruising. They penetrate one's inmost parts. One who is slack in his work is a brother to a vandal. So, right, if you separate yourself from what you do, if you're lazy, ultimately it's going to come. Things are going to go bad. It's a little bit of an extreme statement, but there are a lot of extreme statements or different statements in this book. Continuing Pasuk Yud, Migdal O Shema Adonai Bo Yarut Sadik V'Niskav. The name of God is a tower of strength, to which the righteous man runs, and to which the righteous man, when he runs that way, that righteous man is the Niskav. Niskav is different explanation, can mean alone. Here, at least the English that I see, is it says safe. So Migdal Oz. We say it eventually, Migdal, right? Migdal Yeshua Malko, right? Working off of that. It's from the book of Shmuel and Tehillim. It's not exactly from here, but Migdal Oz, the name of God, is a tower of strength. Hon Ashir Kiryatu Zo Upechoma Niskava B'maskito. The wealth of a rich man is his fortress. In his fancy, it is the protective wall. People used to put their trust in God. Today, what provides security? Not God. how much money you have in your bank account. You have enough money to pay your bills. There's a reason for it, but in the olden days, there was much more trust in God. The wealth of the rich is, right? That's his fortress. That's what brings the protective wall, which the author here in Mishlei has a problem with. You should put your trust and faith in God. Your bank account could disappear. It's more in the ancient world than in the world today. Lifnei shever yigba lev ish lifnei chavod anava. Before ruin, a man's heart is proud. Humility goes before honor, right? If you're humble, then honor will come to you. If you are arrogant and too proud, then ruin will come to you. Meshiv davar b'terem yishma ivelet hilo klima. To answer a man before hearing him out is foolish and disgraceful. We're all guilty of this. Somebody's saying something, we interrupt them in the middle. It's a regular human thing to do. But remember, Geder l'chochma shtika, the best way to be wise is to not talk so much, to listen. So here, listen to the person's whole argument before you disagree with them, before you offer a suggestion. Ruach ishichal kel machalehu v'ruach nichea mi yisa'ena. So if you have good strength and spirit, then even when you're a choleh, in verse 14, machaleu, like a choleh, even when you are sick, your spirit, your ruach, your sort of perspective, your attitude will help sustain you. But somebody who unfortunately is nechei ruach, somebody who is of lowest of spirit, who can bear them? They're drag down others. Leiv navon yiknedat v'ozen chachamim tivakesh. We're in verse 15. So lev here, again, as we've said many times in this book, seems to imply a mind and not the heart. We think, of course, lev is the heart, but maybe the heart back then they thought had some, cognitive faculties as well. So the mind of the navon, the analyzer, like from the word bina. So not just a wisdom, but analysis, and so the wise of the intelligent person, the one who can do analysis and then really think about things, he acquires knowledge. And the ears of the wise seek out knowledge. So the ears are constantly, don't eavesdrop on other people's conversation, but going towards knowledge. Matan adam yarchiv lov lifnei gedolim yan chenu. A man's gift eases his way and gives him access to great things. So, right, this way of understanding simply his gift. There are others who say, maybe it's an idea. It's referring to the world to come. Tzadik harishon, verse 17. Berivo uva re'ehu v'chakaro. The first to plead his case seems right till the other party examines him, right? Listen, you listen to an argument, you read somebody, sounds like he's right, sounds like he's good, and then somebody else comes, Mijanim yashpita goral uvenatsumim yifresh. Comment on the last pasuk, obviously dovetails from the earlier thing, not to interrupt somebody when they're speaking. Listen to what they have to say. If you don't listen to what they have to say, you're going to say something dumb. So, right, sounds like the first guy is right, but it's not always the whole story. Verse 18, pasuk yirchet, Mijanim yashpita goral uvenatsumim Yafrid, the lot puts an end to strife and separate those locked in a dispute, those who are fighting, right? So here it's say people are contending and people are fighting in some sort of, here it sounds like it's random. It's a lottery that decides who is right and who is wrong. It's not based upon a real examination of the case. Problematic. Continuing pasuk Yud Ted, Ach nifsha mikiryat Oz umidyanim kivriach armon. A brother offended is worse than a stronghold, than the kiryat. Again, that word Oz. We had Migdal Oz described in God. So somebody who's your friend, you turn into enemy, big problems. And such strife is like bars of a fortress. It's going to be very hard to get over those. You're going to be stuck in the prison. Mipri fi ish tispa bitnov. Tfuat sifatav yispa. A man's belly, a man's stomach is filled by the fruit of his mouth, and he will be filled by the produce of his lips. Right. So based upon what you do, what you say, that's how you're going to get supported. Mavet v'chayim biad lashon vo'aveh yochal priya. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Those who love it will eat its fruit, right? So those who love it, those who speak properly. And one of the themes in this book, and we see in Tehillim in different places, the idea of how you speak and what you say, and the importance of that is a function of your wisdom, your ability to hear things, and also, right, the ability to here is this is again the question of the importance of what we say. Here in verse 22, we go in a slightly different phrase, but maybe it is related to the other things in this chapter. Matzah isha matzah tov, v'yafek ritzon me Hashem. He who finds a wife finds happiness, and has won the favor of God. Going back to the beginning of the chapter, talked about loneliness, being by yourself, all for yourself. It's not going to be good for you. So here, right, I mentioned earlier on the Torah, lo tov heyot adam levado. It's not good for a person to be alone. So if you find a spouse, you find goodness. The book, of course, we've seen, like most of the books of the Bible, really address to men and to women. Principally, the audience is men. So it's the man finding a wife more than it is the woman finding a husband. But hopefully, it's good for both of them, and that wins the favor of God, because hopefully the husband and the wife together is a team. Not there's never any problems, and not there are any things to work through, but you're not by yourself. You're together. You're part of a larger whole. And that's going to win favor for God. You're not going to be stuck in only the stuff who you are. The poor man speaks beseechingly. The rich man's answers are harsh. Not always the case that is, but the somebody who's poor very often has to be much more deferential than somebody who is wealthy. Ishreim lehit ro ea v'yesh ohev davek me'ach. They are companions to keep one company, and there are friends that are more devoted than a brother, right? So if you have good friends, you're going to have company. You're not going to be by yourself. So then if you had, and some friends are even better than family. Some friends are closer. Some friends better advice. Some friends are easier to talk to. Whatever it might be. So one of the themes that comes up here, and again in this chapter, the idea of being alone, being by yourself, and the difficulty that brings, right? Whether we talk about being of good spirit versus the low spirit. Good spirit keeps you even when you're sick, and it's hard to be of good spirit when you're by yourself, when you are alone, when you're not with other people. I'm not saying not alone for 10 minutes, but it's harder when you are isolated, and isolation is a problem here. And obviously, it's not easy for people who isolate themselves, who feel isolated, who make themselves isolated for whatever, perhaps mental health reasons that they do so. But being together with others, having friends that you can rely upon, not isolating your family, making your brother into your enemy, having a spouse, having all these things is very important in terms of a person's objective, a person's meaning in life, and getting them off of that path, and a path that will help them even at a time of sickness.